All right. I'm going to share my screen and get started. Feel free to leave any questions in the Q&A, and I will refer back to that to answer questions as we go. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for today's Intro to Reclaim webinar. If you're new to Reclaim, we'll walk through getting started. If you are an existing user, hopefully this will give you a little bit of an overview or a deeper dive into the features and all the things that you can do with Reclaim. Now, Reclaim is a web app, so we're just going to log in from the website and do a basic overview of everything that this powerful tool has to offer. So Reclaim is a smart scheduling assistant for Google Calendar. That means it's not a calendar on its own. It's not here to replace the tools that you're already using. It integrates with the workflows that you already have in place to automate your time blocking, make sure that you are defending time for the things that are most important to you, and making those trade-offs automatically for your priorities. So this is sort of the first view that you see when you log into Reclaim. It's the planner view, which is the specialized calendar in Reclaim, where you can see an overview of your week or your day and what's coming up to manage all of your smart events. On the sidebar here, we have a collapsible sidebar with your priorities as well as your task list. As I mentioned earlier, we do have a Q&A section. If you have any questions, leave those in there, and I will check that periodically as I go to answer any questions you might have. Now, all of the smart features live in this left-hand side panel here. And we're going to start with habits, which is our most popular feature. Now, Reclaim helps you defend time automatically on the calendar for a variety of things. Habits is a really powerful way to make time for those recurring things that you want to get done on a regular basis, whether those are personal routines like making time for lunch or getting to the gym or taking a walk every day, to your work routines, updating reports weekly or scheduling time to do a review monthly. Whatever you want to make time for regularly, Habits is a way to do that. And you can build a habit from scratch by clicking the new habit button up here, or you can work off over 100 templates by department based around other routines that busy professionals are making time for. And I'm going to work off one of the habits. These are all fully customizable, but this will help us walk through the form. Now, the difference between Reclaim and manually time blocking your calendar, if you've ever manually time blocked your calendar, is that when you're building out time blocking by hand, you are building these static blocks. You create your perfect plan for the day around everything that you need to get done. You're scheduling realistic time blocks on the calendar for how long it's going to take you, but it doesn't allow for much flexibility when those plans change. And this is where Reclaim really comes in to leverage that smart scheduling. Reclaim's features, all of the smart events that Reclaim creates, have a little bit more flexibility. That means that you were doing a lunch break every day, instead of scheduling at 12 o'clock every single day, it allows a little bit more flexibility to schedule between like 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. depending on other priorities that might come up during that day. So this form is sort of an introduction to how the other features work as well, where you give Reclaim the preferences around the scheduling rules that you want Reclaim to work around this smart event. So a lot of them are going to look similar to this. We're going to walk through this one a little bit more in depth. This is the form for creating habits. It would look the same if you were creating a habit from scratch, but this is all auto-filled for template specifically. So you have your habit title up here. This is how the event is going to show up on your calendar, and you can customize this. You can add an emoji if you want to show exactly what that event is going to be. Now here you have your priority to set. Reclaim's prioritization system is another way that you make time for that flexibility, but also make those trade-offs automatically. A lot of times we have more to do in a week than we actually have time for, and the difficult part becomes, making those trade-offs to deprioritize something to make time for something that's more important, or to fit in an urgent emergency that might have to take place over top of something else that you had planned for the day. Reclaim universal priorities across all events, Reclaim created events as well as non-Reclaim created events, so that you can build out your calendar around the things that are most important. So we have our priority levels from critical to low priority. And in that sense, they build out based on priority. So a high priority or critical priority habit would schedule before any lower priority habit, as well as lower priority tasks or smart one-on-ones, so that you can make time for the things that are most important, because not all of your habits are going to be equally important on your calendar. And it just gives you that control. So we are going to leave this as high priority for now. You have your color and category where you can set a specific color for this event. Otherwise, Reclaim auto categorizes and color codes your calendar, which we'll go over in a second. You have your solo work or personal tab. So whether you wanted this to be a personal event for something like getting to the gym, or a work routine like updating a sales presentation. And here's where we get into flexible scheduling rules. So instead of blocking out a static time block every day, you can give Reclaim a little bit more of your preferences or sort of how you want to be flexible for this habit. In this case, you could have a minimum duration, so the least amount of time that you want to spend on a habit. In this case, it's 30 minutes, as well as a maximum event. If you have the availability, how much time would you ideally have for this habit? And you can customize these to be whatever you wanted them to be. You can select the hours that you want it to schedule during. The default hours are working hours, meeting hours, and personal hours, which we'll go over as well as building out custom scenario hours for other things that you might want to have options for. You can also build out one-off hours. So these will apply to this specific habit event, where you can select certain days that you want the habit to schedule, add time ranges or multiple time ranges to a single day to really customize how this habit schedules. You have your frequency, so how often you want to make time for the habit, whether that's weekly or quarterly, so things don't slip out through the cracks, and how many times during the week if it is weekly. You can give Reclaim an ideal time, so if your calendar is open and there's a lot of options, Reclaim will try to schedule as close to the ideal time as possible. Otherwise, it will stick to the range that you have set. You can have a habit start later into the future or have it start scheduling immediately, which again gives you a little bit more flexibility to keep your calendar open around your planning. You can add notes. These Markdown support, so you can add links to things like a presentation if you were going to update that, or an agenda, or anything else that you might want to have quick access to, and that will be included in every recurring event time block on the calendar for quick access, so you don't have to go looking for stuff. Then you have your visibility settings. Now, Reclaim offers a lot of transparency for others viewing your calendar. We're big believers that in showing your team, especially what you're busy with, and providing that context allows you to reduce interruptions and defend more quality time to work on things. If your team knows that you're busy updating an important sales presentation, they're less likely to interrupt you than if they just saw, for example, a busy time block on your calendar. So you can provide as much context as you want for all of your different events. In this case, happy for my team to see that I'm busy working on this presentation, or if it was a private event, something I didn't need my team to know about, I could just mark it as busy and it would show as a busy time block without that additional information. And then you have defense settings. So we have the priorities tag that you can give to a habit to control how it's prioritized around everything else on your calendar. And then for habits, you have an additional control here around whether something is going to be marked as busy or free. And this is a good opportunity to talk a little bit about free busy controls, which you might not be familiar with. Google Calendar uses free busy controls to specify how events show up to others viewing your calendar. So a free event would show that time as available to others trying to book a meeting with you, and busy events show that event on your calendar. And Reclaim leverages these free busy controls to keep you flexible for new opportunities to collaborate with your team or with others, and then flips them automatically to busy when you're running out of time to reschedule it, or if you're coming close to the start time for that event. And that again gives you a little bit more flexibility, so it doesn't just block up your calendar to prevent important meetings from having time to schedule. Then there's advanced options. These are all of the settings that Reclaim needs to actually schedule it. But you can also choose to CC others to a habit or to avoid duplicate events with keywords that Reclaim will scan your calendar for to avoid having a double event. In the case of like lunch, you could add, restaurant as a keyword here, and Reclaim would search your calendar if you had a restaurant lunch meeting with your team, for example, and it wouldn't schedule your lunch habit at that day. And you can auto decline interruptions for your most important meetings so that that is secured for focus time, heads down time, so people can't send new invitations for meetings during that event. I'm going to hit save, and Reclaim's going to get to work on scheduling this event on my calendar around those preferences. And then here we can see all of the upcoming events that we have scheduled for this event based on all of the preferences that I just set. Now, if we go to the planner, the first one is scheduled on January 2nd, which is just around the corner. And you'll see that Reclaim has already scheduled the event on the calendar around those preferences. Let me see if we have any questions yet. All right, awesome. Now, your habits are built out around those priorities where you can make time for anything that you want regular defended time on the calendar for. In your priorities tab here, you will see not only your habits, all of your smart events where you can also control how they schedule around those other priorities and get a little bit more of an overview of how it's scheduling around other things. So if you find that a habit isn't scheduling at the frequency that you like, maybe it's too low of a priority, needs to be moved up so that it schedules higher than other events that might be blocking up that time. So that's habits. When we look at tasks, it's a little bit different. Tasks, instead of habits where you have sort of a recurring routine that you make time for on a regular basis, tasks are sort of the one-off projects that you need done before a deadline. And again, it works very similarly in creating scheduling rules that provide that flexibility for how a task schedules. But you can create a new task from the new task button at the top of the page here, or by hitting C from anywhere in the app, and it will pull up this sort of mini version of the habits form that we just walked through. You'll give your task a name, you can add an emoji, set a duration for how long you need for a task. You can have the options to split it up. This is especially helpful if you have a task that's going to take you, say, 7 hours, and you're probably not going to have 7 hours available on a day to work on it straight through. You can set your minimum and maximum duration, so the least amount of time that you want to schedule to work on that task and the maximum of time you can spend on it. Again, the hours that you want to be available for this to schedule, as well as setting it out to a future date. Say I didn't want to start the until January, I could set that. And then you add a deadline, and Reclaim starts scheduling that task before the deadline in those time blocks, so you actually have the time to get it done. A lot of times we have a big long to-do list, but bridging that gap between knowing what you need to do and actually finding time on the calendar before a due date to work on it is really the problem. And this sort of bridges that gap in allowing you to get more done. Now, if we look at the planner where we have our task list, we'll see a couple of things here. We have this up next field, which allows you to schedule tasks as soon as possible outside of priorities. Now, priorities are available for all events, and you can set the priority for tasks, again, to schedule ahead of lower priority tasks or lower priority habits and smart one-on-ones. But you can also drag a task to up next, and Reclaim will prioritize scheduling that task before any of the other task lists in your task list or any other tasks in your task list, regardless of the priorities. This is a really great way to stay in control of sort of the things that you want to work on immediately. Now, the tasks in Up Next are stack rankable, so they will prioritize in order that they are listed. And we have a question: how do I schedule a task on the same day? And this is a great question. So Reclaim schedules your task around all of the preferences that you've set for that task. And sometimes that means that it's further into the future around, your availability immediately. If you had a task here, for example, this is just rescheduled to Friday. If you have a task scheduled ahead of time, but you want to start on it now or work on it today, you have a couple different options. In these tabs from the planner, you can start a task or habit immediately, even if it's not currently scheduled, and Reclaim will move it to right now and reschedule anything else so that you can prioritize working on that. Now I have Create Canva presentation starting now anyway, but let's say send Julian an email. I want to do that right now. Hit start task now with that little play button on the item, and it will move it to up here and then move around my calendar to accommodate that task. You could also just drag and drop events to a different time, and Reclaim will honor that as your preferred time to work on something. You could extend the event if you wanted to spend more time on something. It's very flexible to sort of move things around the way that you want them to schedule. This also works for pulling things from the past. Say, finishing this report, I never got it done on Monday. I can drag that to a date in the future, and Reclaim will automatically get that time back on the calendar for it. Now you can do this from Google Calendar as well. Like I mentioned, it is a smart scheduler for Google Calendar. So everything that you update here will update in Google Calendar and vice versa, giving you sort of control to work on your calendar where you feel most comfortable. Got a couple other questions. How would you compare Reclaim with Motion? Now this is a really common. A lot of users that switch over from Motion as another sort of scheduling tool. On the website, we do have a comparison page where you can review feature comparisons to Motion as well as other competitors with a sort of more detailed overview of some of the things that are different. And so that's a really good place to start. We also offer a discount when you switch from Motion or Clockwise to save 20% off your first 6 months. Can I build out templates for a podcast? I need to do the same 9 tasks for prep. Is it possible to create a template with those 9 tasks? So this is a really common request that we get, sort of subtasks, which is not something that we facilitate yet. That is something that is on the list that has been mentioned by other users, which would be helpful in terms of preparing those. In a roundabout way or a loophole that you could do it now is sort of creating a larger habit, especially if you have a recurring podcast for episodes, creating a habit that includes a lot of the prep where you could have sort of a checklist in the event description. That might be a way to work around that for now until we do introduce subtasks. All right. So that's tasks and habits, which really allow you to make time for the things that your personal priority is, making time for your to-dos and the routines that you want to get done. But Reclaim also facilitates collaborative features, including smart one-on-ones and scheduling links, which allow you to not only optimize the way that you make time for the things that you need to get done, but also optimize the way that you schedule your meetings. Starting with smart one-on-ones, this is a really powerful tool, especially for busy managers who have a lot of one-on-ones with direct reports, or even if you have, other meetings with another person on your team. Building out one-on-ones is a fantastic way to get a lot of time back to dedicated to more important things than scheduling and rescheduling one-on-one meetings constantly. Smart one-on-ones, again, work on sort of these flexible scheduling rules where we have a similar form. It's a one-time meeting invitation that you send to someone that doesn't necessarily have to be a Reclaim user. And you fill out all of your scheduling details, whether you wanted to add a link to the event, the priority that you want to set for its scheduling around other events on your calendar, how long you want to meet and how often you want to meet, as well as adding video conferencing links like Zoom or Google Meet, or adding a physical location or a unique video conferencing link. And your smart one-on-one will schedule around those preferences on both people's calendar when they are available. And this really opens up a lot of time by automating the process where you can make sure that you have time on the calendar to meet with someone on the basis that you want to connect with them without spending so much time rescheduling them. This is really great too, because both the organizer of a smart one-on-one and the attendee can skip or reschedule a smart one-on-one, and Reclaim takes care of sort of finding the next best time to meet. So if I find a one-on-one on the calendar here, a one-on-one, let's say Patrick and Ellen, January 1st. Patrick and Ellen, say I know I'm not going to be in January 1st. That's a busy day. I'm going to reschedule that by right-clicking the event on the calendar. I'm going to say, let's reschedule for another week. And Reclaim will automatically move that out of the way and find the next best time on both of our calendars to connect. We do have a roadmap for items that are currently in the process. This is a question again about subtasks, which you can see on our launch notes. I added that to the chat section in the quick links. It's our launch notes where we share updates, as well as roadmap items that you can subscribe to be informed first when they do come out. So that's a quick overview of smart one-on-ones. Scheduling links, on the other hand, are how you can book time with someone by sharing your availability. This is great for people who have external meetings, people in sales, people who are sort of allowing people or sending someone a booking link to find time to meet with them. Scheduling links are especially powerful with these prioritization controls, where you can, again, set the priority level for a scheduling link, which will not necessarily overbook or allow other events to overbook your scheduling links, but depending on the priority that you set for your scheduling links, it will show certain things as available. So say you have a critical priority scheduling link, it will show all of your lower priority tasks, habits, and smart one-on-ones as available times on the calendar to someone viewing your scheduling link. So if we open this one up so we can take a look at it, it will show all of the events that you have available that are already booked on the calendar for that day as open times. And it just gives you that control over how you want to share your availability without having to go in and manually delete events off your calendar to make time for your most important meetings, and allows you to have that flexibility and that automation. Say a meeting booked over an event that's currently scheduled, a lower priority task, for example, Reclaim will automatically move that task to the next best time and prioritize that meeting without you having to go in and manually adjust your calendar. Another feature that's really special about Smart One-on-Ones is that you can set multiple time durations to a single meeting link, which gives your invitee a little bit more control over how much time they need with you, as well as how soon they can get in on your calendar. Obviously, a 15-minute time block might be easier to come by than a 45-minute time block, especially for those lower priority scheduling links. I have a question about scheduling links. I use Calendly today to allow guests to book my live stream. And is Wednesdays. Can I accomplish this with Reclaim, or does it limit start times to a quarter of the hour? I see. So if we go to settings, which we can go look at now, you do have start time intervals for your meeting events or your schedulings in this case. These are limited to 15-hour increments or 15-minute increments currently, but that's a really good note that I will pass along to the product team to see if we can allow a little bit more flexibility there. So you can set your start time intervals there for your Smart One-on-Ones and scheduling links, again, to take a little bit more control over your calendar. And while we're here, let's walk through some of the other general settings. Now, as we walk through tasks, obviously you can build out tasks around all of the specific details that you need. But you can also set default task settings for how you want those fields to autofill around sort of quick scheduling to get something on the calendar. So you can set your task duration, how you want to split up those events, the event duration, the hours that you want them to schedule in for default, the priority level, whether you want to send them to up next by default or not, and the start date and due date, as well as what to do if tasks are done scheduling. So if a Reclaim has burned through the time it said you needed to complete a task, it sort of keeps it in a done scheduling state for you to check back if you actually got it done when you said or when it was scheduled for, or if you didn't. So you can either add more time to the calendar or mark it as done. So you can leave it that. That's the default. You can also automate this process by adding it back to the calendar after a set amount of time. So Reclaim, if you don't mark it as done, will automatically put that full time back on the calendar after one day or however long you want that to be, or mark it as done. So Reclaim will automatically check it off if you don't say that you need more time after the set time that it's in that done scheduling state. Reclaim also offers automated buffer times and breaks for you to break up the workday so you're not booked back to back around meetings as well as task and habit events. Obviously, productivity is all about time blocking an efficient and productive plan for your week, but that doesn't come at the cost of taking breaks and taking time between meetings to decompress, take notes, and prepare for your next event. So you can add breaks after task and habit events. You can add travel time to before and after events with a location to get to where you're going, as well as decompression time after meetings, which can be customized to video conferencing meetings only or all meetings on your calendar, as well as a note for how you want that event to display to others viewing your calendar when you are taking that break. Do we have any other questions? All right. Let's walk through some more of these settings. You have your profile where you can sort of build out your details around what you do. And then you have your hours, which I mentioned a couple of times as we've walked through some of these forms. Your hours by default include your working hours, your meeting hours, and your personal hours, which are the default timeframes that specific tasks schedule. And you can customize these to be whatever you want. Again, with certain days, if you wanted your Smart One-on-Ones to only schedule on Mondays and Fridays, you could set that up here. Adding additional time frames to when you want to be available for certain things to schedule. You can build out your availability around your personal preferences here because that looks different for everybody. On paid plans, we also have custom hours available where you can build out additional options for timeframes that you want to schedule certain events during. This is great for things like deep work if you wanted to defend time to focus on tasks and habits, as well as different clients if you worked across, freelance projects or something like that. Really customizing it to whatever that would be without having to do those one-off hours for each individual event. Now, I've worked sort of in Reclaim for all of this. Again, everything here works in Google Calendar as well. So when I update something in Google Calendar, if this is where I wanted to manage my schedule, that would update in Reclaim as well. And we do have a free Google Calendar add-on that you can install from the Google Workspace Marketplace. I have that linked as well in the chat, where it will add the add-on to your sidebar here, where you have very similar controls to what you see in the planner sidebar, where you can start and stop events, get your scheduling links, manage your meetings, and create new tasks without leaving Google Calendar. If we continue working through the settings here, we have our category colors, which we saw a little bit throughout. Here you can set the defaults for how you want Reclaim to categorize and color code your calendar. The options that you have here are limited to the Google Calendar approved colors. So that's where those come from, where you can set up the defaults that you want your scheduling events to, what you want them to look like. So you have an overview calendar at a glance. You can apply these to only Reclaim events or have Reclaim intelligently categorize and color code all the events in your calendar. Just another neat small way to save a lot of time, which if you've ever manually time blocked your calendar, manually color coding your calendar is a lot. You have your notification settings, which pull from your Google Calendar notification settings. And then we have our integration add-ons. We've talked about tasks where you can sort of build them out in Reclaim for each individual one, but you can also bridge the gap between your project management platforms or your task management platforms and Reclaim. So you can integrate with ClickUp, Asana, Jira, Linear, and Todoist to automatically sync tasks from those platforms as intelligent, smart task events in Reclaim. All of these integrations work a little bit differently to match the platform that they are applied to, but they offer you a lot of flexibility in terms of not having to manually go in and recreate those tasks across platforms. For Todoist and ClickUp, we also have additional settings for the tasks that are synced based on projects or labels, or in ClickUp spaces and tags for the hours that you want them to sync to, how you want them to sync, to really build out a customized plan for every work week around your tasks, no matter where you're creating them. Calendar sync, I'd like to finish off with this one. I know we're running up on time here. If you're someone who works with multiple calendars, calendar sync is a really powerful way to stream your scheduling by copying and duplicating events to a primary calendar. You can have 17 different calendars, but you still only have 24 hours in a day, and it's very easy to get overbooked if other people can't see what you have going on different calendars. And the calendar sync allows you to create that transparency, or at least block out that time on your primary calendar, especially for something like a work calendar and a personal calendar, so that you can protect your work-life balance and avoid getting overbooked like that. Setting up a sync is super simple. This one is obviously a lot of syncs here. You can create as many as you want for as many calendars as you have, where you choose a source calendar that you want to copy the events from, and then your destination calendar that you want to copy the events to. All right. Let's see. Is there any other questions? Let me check real quick. When will you integrate with Monday.com? Monday.com is a highly requested feature in the launch notes update page. We do have a roadmap item that you can subscribe to get updates around the Monday.com integration. It'll probably be 2024 roadmap item as we prioritize other features to build out a more powerful scheduling in Reclaim for now. But that's something to subscribe to so that you are the first to be notified if we do, or when we integrate with Monday. I do want to share real quick that we do have a discount code running through the end of the year to get set up for your most productive 2024. If you are a Reclaim user, definitely check out your Reclaim Recapped. We have an overview of your year, everything that you got into with interesting stats on where your time went for the year, as well as your Reclaim personality are based on what you were most busy with in 2023. This is going to be a really exciting one, especially for next year, to have that comparison for the things that you got busy with. Let's see. We do have a YouTube channel where we have replays of all of our demos. If you wanted to watch this one again, we have lots of other videos around different productivity tips and calendar hacks, as well as updates from our team. Our help center is full of everything that I talked about today and more. If you wanted to learn more about specific features or task integrations, that's all in here as well. We do have our contact team or support available from the app or the website at any point if you run into issues or need help troubleshooting something, where you can also ask questions to find relevant docs or message the team directly, and we're always here to help. Let's see if we have any questions here. I know we're on time. Why would Reclaim not be recognizing the appointments in my synced booking system calendar, even though the appointments show in Google Calendar? That is a very interesting question. I'm going to copy that one over to the product team and add that to the email if I get an answer for that. I'm not sure how those events get synced to Google Calendar, so if it's a double sync issue, but I will add an answer to that in our follow-up email, surely. Any compatibility with EOS? Not currently, but I will pass that along to the product team too. We have a lot of integration requests. Check the launch notes page as well. If there's already a request in there, you can subscribe to that one. But I will make a note for that to follow up in the email as well. I know we are on time. Hopefully this was helpful in giving you an overview of some of the features of Reclaim, some of the ways that you can make more time for the things that are most important to you every week, and build out that optimized and automated time-blocked calendar to get more done and protect your work-life balance as well. This is our last, no, it's our last webinar for the year, but happy holidays if you celebrate. Otherwise, enjoy your break if you have time off. Thank you so much for joining me today. Like I said, this will be available on YouTube if you wanted to rewatch it to learn anything. And again, we're always available if you have any questions or run into any issues. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll stick around for another minute if there's any other questions. Otherwise, happy holidays and see you on social or in the app. Thanks so much, guys.